Hey guys, do you remember when this was a thing? Sounds like a yes to me. How about movie video games? Do you guys remember when those used to be a big phenomenon?
They were mostly made as cash-ins to capitalize on the movie title that they inherited. The end results were decidedly mixed. Some were decent to even good games, but many others were just slapped together messes. Nowadays, when a game like this comes out, it is just really inspired by the movie, and pretty much goes off and tells its own story. It is very rare to come across a game that is just a scene-by-scene retelling of the flick it represents anymore. Even early movie tie-in games took quite a bit of liberties as well, such as Spider-Man 2 for example. That game follows the story of the movie, fair enough, but because of it being a game, it expanded upon the story and the lore while giving the player more to do.
But then, there were some games that stuck strictly to the story of the movie and didn't branch off on its own. This was due to the time restraints due to the fact that it had come out during the same time of the film. Because of that, and or the title just had little to work with. That brings us to Star Wars. Star Wars has had far too many games to count, and many follow the films, but also choose to go on their own route. Reasons is because over the years of its creation, Star Wars had such an expansive universe that had so much folklore spread throughout its tales to be in books, word of mouth, or other writings. This of course allowed game developers to come up with their own stories with their own adventures.
But you don't want to hear about all of that. This video is about Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So, where exactly does this game fall into place?
Well, it too decided to merely follow the story of the film, with very little if any branching. Cutscenes would transition straight from the movie directly into the graphics the console had at the time. PS2. And then would allow the player to take control until the next movie scene. The results for doing this usually mean that a game wouldn't be very long. And you'd be right.
You could probably beat it, give or take about 3 hours, of course depending on your player skill.
And for the time of the game's release, it's kind of a no-brainer. It didn't do so well. The asking full price of $60 for a game like this would be unthinkable to anyone, especially since already movie tie-in games had a poor reputation for the statements earlier examined.
But was it a bad game, really? Well, in the replay department, yeah, pretty much. But what about the gameplay department? Revenge of the Sith offers a single-player campaign with 18 levels, a few bonus missions, and a few multiplayer options, versus mode where each player can select a Jedi or Sith to fight one another in co-op where 2 players team up for a couple of rounds. Pretty basic stuff. The gameplay is ultimately where the focus takes place in terms of lightsaber combat. You play each mission either as Anakin or Obi-Wan, and they all play out in almost an arcade-type feel. The controls for this game is very responsive, as you are able to perform a variety of attacks with your lightsaber, doing a good job capturing the acrobatics that the prequel series showed off. Square is standard attack, circle is stab, and triangle is your heavy, and you can combo these. And in the midst of these combos, you can hold one of the attack buttons down, which will release a super attack. You also have a block which allows you to lock onto your enemies. While locking on, you can sidestep with the X button for sidestep attacks. And of course, there is the Force, which you can use in a number of ways. First, you can throw your lightsaber, pick up objects, including enemies, which you can throw around and damage in the air. With the Jedi, you can entrance your foes to stun them. But with Sith, you can use the Force Lightning. The Force bar regenerates on its own, and you can use to regenerate some of your health if it gets low. Not to mention the canisters that can regenerate your health as well.
Another handy maneuver is that with enemies who block your attacks way too often, you can break through their defenses with a grab. Of course, all of these moves are fine and good, but in between levels, you will need to upgrade them with experience points you gained through previous stages. You will have to pick and choose what to upgrade first though. But ultimately, by the end of the game, you should be able to unlock everything, as it's pretty straightforward. And the game is pretty generous with experience points. Now, it wouldn't be a lightsaber-focused game without bosses to fight, so occasionally between stages, you will face a familiar face, as well as new ones in lightsaber combat. These are pretty adrenaline-rushing because it's not as simple as button-mashing your way through the fight. The anime AI is pretty good and will do its best to fight around your style, so taking your time and finding the best moment to strike is essential. When you beat your opponent, by the way, you unlock him for versus mode, which we will discuss in a little bit.
The stages actually have some really good variety when it comes to the enemies. But of course, as early on, you're going to fight the weaker ones, like the basic battle droids. But of course, as the game goes on, you're going to start facing harder foes that are going to be able to block your lightsaber attacks, meaning you're going to have to come up with some good strategy in order to finally take them out.
You will also come up to some events during battle that you will have to complete, such as using your force powers to move objects, take out gun turrets, and sometimes clone soldiers will arrive to lend you a hand. Or die trying.
Impressive.
One thing that is pretty subpar, though, about this game, however, is the voice acting. Especially when it comes to Anakin Skywalker. He is so monotone. It's like he didn't even care.
Don't make me kill you. He says the droids have activated a lockout protocol. I'll take care of it. I want access to the temple's signal beacon by order of the Supreme Chancellor. The Council is no longer in control.
I guess that is how Hayden Christensen delivered his lines in the movie. Our theory is that if they strayed too far away, they were afraid they wouldn't sound like him. Either that, or it was just bad voice acting.
It's too late for that. You're too late. You only want to help yourself.
As mentioned, there are also some bonus levels in the game, such as the one featuring Yoda, and the rematch between Darth Vader and Ben Kenobi from Episode 4.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
So much anger.
You should never have come back, old man.
But one funny one in particular is the alternative ending to the game when you replay the fight on Mustafar.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Don't try it!
Oh boy, that would have changed things quite a bit. The really fun part of this game is the versus mode. When you unlock all the characters in the game, you can face off one-on-one on platforms. The characters are pretty unique from each other in their own fighting style, and you can have hours of fun with a friend. If nothing else, the game is worth checking out just for that.
Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith is okay. It's a short game with silly voice acting, but you know what, all in all, it's still actually really fun to play. And at this certain time, it should be really cheap and affordable. So I say go for it.
It does a good job allowing you to kick ass as a Jedi or a Sith, and it is fun with a friend. The rep the movie-based games have kind of buried this game soon after it came out, and many fans moved on to Battlefront 2 when it came out, and it was also easy for us to forget about it as well. Though, we did have fun playing it when it did first come out. The prequel movies may have been ultimately disappointing, but there were some good things that came out of them. We still attest that Revenge of the Sith was definitely the better of the three movies, and is the most watchable, and this movie tie-in was not too shabby either. So if you have an open mind, check it out. We guarantee that this game will at least give you a better lightsaber experience than that Kinect Star Wars game.
Well guys, thank you for checking out this video from thebrotherhoodgaming.com. There's a whole lot of other videos just like it, waiting for you to click on them and watch them. Until next time, you can check our social media to keep up with all of our latest updates and whatnot, and we will see you next time. Maybe sooner than later.